There's the on-off switch.
On-off switch.
This can be moved depending on what you want as far as width, but you want to make sure that it's on the outboard side of the particular product that you're working with.
Okay, so we verify that these are up is the first step, and make sure that the red switch is out, and make sure that these are to the outward sides of the piece that we're going to be bending.
If you need to adjust, if it's canted in there,
yep,
that's what this can be. You can just loosen this up and you can start adjusting that way. So that would have to be measured off of the punch itself, the center of the punch, or the center of the die.
But right now it's set on 0, so it should be square.
It should be. You can have the control mode, at hand, foot, or hand. I just prefer the foot. I put both my hands on the bar of the control, and then just put my foot in there.
All right.
This is going to be the operation. This is emergency up. So if you want, God forbid, you got your hand stuck in there, that's how you're getting that thing up.
Okay. So on, auto, and foot.
Reason it's going into the default of the manual mode. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be in the manual mode for safety reasons. Okay. You want to be in the automatic mode. So you're going to go to DIRS, which is directors. You're going to want to go into, Mark would be in the manual mode. My classes are going to be in the automatic mode. And then once you do that, hold on, I gotta go back. Main menu, sorry. We gotta go back to mine. Yeah, we're okay now. Alright, so now we're all set. We're gonna want to calibrate this thing. In order to do that, we have to turn the machine on.
Green button. So we hit Alt and F1 at the same time.
Yep. Hit all. You're gonna hit start.
All and start.
Before you do anything, now it's going to try and calibrate. Before you do anything, we want to lift the ram up over here.
Yellow button is lifting the ram up, and we get the stops out of there.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the foot. And the screen will tell you when it's calibrated. Now we're done with that.
What'd you just push there?
Main menu.
Now we're back to the main menu.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new job. So I'm just going to shut this off. I'll leave it run, actually, rather. We're going to do new job. We're going to go to drawing. Again, this is going to have all the fail safes in it, so that's why we're choosing this. Hit enter on that. Enter. Now we're going to choose our tooling. The tooling that's in here right now is an 1.5" punch and a 2" V die.
Punch and a 2" V die.
It's important that you note that the bottom V die should be loose. Some people have a tendency to want to use the set screws to tighten it down. The problem with that is that if it's pinched in there just right and if the punch is out of square for some reason, now all of a sudden you got a lot of binding going on. So this allows it to float back and forth just a little bit.
Okay, so leave the bottom die loose and the top one's tight.
The other thing that you want to note is that there is no punch holder. There is, though, a die holder. This is a die holder on the bottom.
Okay.
And we'll go through why that's important right now. Come down here, we're choosing our punch, which again is the top die or whatever you want to call it, but the punch.
And this is already in the computer?
It's already logged in the computer. These measurements were all made by either Mark or myself.
Okay.
We measured all the tooling, we entered it into the tool library. So now it's asking in here, is there a RAM extension? And that's what I'm referring to. On the top side, no there isn't. The top is considered the RAM. There is no RAM extension. So we're going to scroll down to that spot, hit enter. Now right away it goes to the bottom. And we know that we've got the 2" V die, so we'll hit enter on that. And now, is there a die holder or no die holder? Yes, there is. prompt us, do we want to add another tool set? Because if it was a complicated job, we're not going to on this particular job.
Okay.
So we're going to hit no. Now this screen comes up, we simply hit next. We're going to type in a job name. So this is okay, so we've got the job name. We're going to enter material that we're going to use. We've chosen some 836 sheet steel. We hit enter. Now it's going to ask us the size that is. We've chosen 16 gauge, so we hit enter. And enter again. Now the rest of this information would be important if we were working with a vendor, but seeing as how we're doing this all in-house, none of this is important to us right now. The only thing that will be important is later on, we're going to come back to blank length. That's going to tell us how big a piece we need to cut. All right, because depending on the amount of bends, we'll shrink the material or expand the material accordingly. So we're going to hit next right here. We're going to draw the part that we're going to make.
Okay.
So you're going to hit enter. And you arrow over and enter again. Oops.
How do you go back? Like if you make a mistake on the arrows?
You just simply hit back.
Okay.
Or actually delete line, I'm sorry. Delete line. Back actually brings you back to the next screen, so delete line. Okay. Now we're going to hit, every time you hit enter, that creates a point, and the line will go like this until you hit enter again.
Okay.
Alright, so right now we got a W going, it's pretty rough. What we're going to do is hit next. Now it's going to ask us our length. I'm going to choose 3.5 inches, so I'm going to go 3.50. I hit enter. Now it asks what angle do we want. Well, what angle do you want?
90.
We're going to do 90 degrees. Okay. It's going to ask that length. What do you want? Same as we were at before, so we're going to do 3.5 inches. Again, we'll do 90 degrees. .5 inches, 90 degrees, and 3.5 inches.
So it asks a length, an angle, a length, an angle, and so on.
What you do have to note is there's either outside or inside dimensions. It's going to be critical, like if you were going to make, let's say, a pressure box. If you're going to make two halves of a pressure box where they're going to slip inside of each other, at that point you're going to have to start thinking about, hey, is this an outside bend, outside measurement, inside bend, inside measurement, because the thickness of materials. When two pieces are connecting to each other, that's the problem that you run into.
Okay.
So now we've got that done. We're going to hit next. Do you wish to draw a width profile? No, we don't. We keep it as simple as we can right now. We're going to enter again. Now, here's the important part. This is the part that you got to think about. It clearly shows where the back gauge is, which is on the other side of the machine, and it clearly shows where the operator is. Personally, I like to have as much material in my hands as I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit auto for just a second. Well, I'm going to hit flip X first of all. Flip X will bring that material out to me.
Okay.
Now I'm going to hit auto because what that's going to do is it's going to give me a sequence. Alright, so I'm going to hit auto. All the material is out here right now, so I'm going to just see what the next sequence is. Okay, now it's in the middle. Oh, hold on. We're going to go back to this.
Okay. Now, when it's on that screen and it goes from no to yes, how do you get that changed? Does it just touch?
It's through arrows.
Okay.
Okay. Now we we got it all operator here. This is auto, okay, we're good. So I'm just gonna use a down arrow, so it's gonna show me, hey, that's number 1, okay? If you feel comfortable with that, we know that we've got about 7 inches of material in our hand at that point, and that's pretty reasonable. So we can come down here, it's showing where the material is gonna be. It shows where it starts in the gray line, and then in the black line it's showing where it ends up. Okay, so just to review, those are the different positions that it's going to be. Now, if we're happy with that, if we're satisfied, we're just going to simply go finish, and the job will load.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's say we want to run, we should actually go back before we run. Let's hit part. Now it shows a total blank length, right? Yep. So it's showing that part should be 13 inches, 266 thousandths of an inch. So approximately 13 1/4. The difference is going to be that you have to get it as close as possible if you want to achieve that 3 1/2, 3 1/2, 3 1/2 all the way through. So that's going to be something that we got to do.
Okay.
You want to cut that part?
Yep.
I'll go get the. If you're more down there, you obviously arrow up or down.
Back to main menu to find our project.
Okay, it's right there, so we're going to hit run. Okay, so now it pops up. It shows what we have to do. You can clearly see that the finger is down and the part actually sits on top of the finger. If for some reason you put it to the front of the finger, now all of a sudden you're going to have big problems when it comes to actually making the part.
Alright. There's our piece and it's resting on the finger.
Alright, so the next thing that you do after you've just kind of made a quick identification of what's going on, you hit start. It's going to ask you, do you want the pinch point? Now that's why all that information that it asked you before is really important. Does it have the die holder? Does it have a RAM extension? You know, what tools are we using? That's why this all comes into play, because it's automatically figured out the dimension at which point it's going to pinch the part. Alright? It's also calculated the thickness of material. Now, provided that all the information that either Mark or myself have entered into the tool library is correct, it will be right on. We're going to maintain that, so we can enter. I'm going to come over here, take my piece out of the way just for a second, make sure there's nothing in the way. Okay, so now it's ready to make its first bend. What I do, rather than reaching through, I got to come to the back side now.
Which pedal did you push there, the left one or the right one?
Left one.
Left pedal, okay.
Now it's important that you remember that there's a crown in here, okay? So this is actually shaped like this, and the vice versa on the bottom. So right here is going to be the center point in between these two screw holes. So what you want to do is that's where you're going to be doing the majority of your bending. If for some reason you do this wrong, you put the wrong parts in there, the wrong dimensions, wrong tooling, and you hit it hard where it splits a die open, it can take the crown out of the machine, and then the machine would have to be serviced. So that's the only real possibility of a disaster. That's why the manual mode is very, very critical. You really do not want to use that unless absolutely necessary and you have a pretty good understanding of the machine. The automatic mode will not allow you to do that kind of thing.
Okay.
Alright, so we center these things up. We're going to get pretty close to it, putting our fingers down. We're hoping that our dimensions are correct. Which way was 13? Remember? That's this way. So it's showing again to sit on top of the fingers. Alright? Now it's sitting on top of the fingers. There is a possibility that one finger can be higher than the other. There are set screws right at the joint of the finger, and you can adjust that to get it level with the top of the die so that there's no pressure on the fingers. Meaning that the fingers are not level.
Okay.
So now we are ready to go. So you can hold the part it's important that you're close to it. Stick your foot in here. We are in auto mode, so everybody understands that. Okay, now we got the part. You can do a quick check. See where we're at for angle on here. We put in there 90 degrees. I'm showing a measurement of approximately, it looks like it's about 86, 87 degrees. What you have to do for this machine is actually look at it the exact opposite. No, it's not really 86 degrees. What it is, it's actually over. Okay, so you go back on here and you look and you say, well, it's actually 94 degrees. All right? So what you do, you hit stop on here, you hit edit, and you're going to scroll down to Y correct. And you're going to hit the dimension that you actually measure with this part, or with the protractor. So we're going to hit 94. Okay? I enter that in there. It shows -4 degrees correct. Now, I go back to run. You know what I can actually do? Let's just stop it for a second. Let's see if we can go, back to the number 1. We're going to do a double kiss, so to speak. All right, so I'm going to come back. It moves the fingers back automatically. I'm going to come back here and see if my Y correct was right.
Now you're not feathering the foot or nothing, right? It's automatic.
It's all automatic. Now, there is a little bit of an issue doing this because when you double kiss something, it can overbend, which it appears we're off by about a degree. So that's acceptable for what we're doing. If we would have done this to begin with, if we would have been able to do it with a test sample, we probably would have been able to get that out of there and it'd probably be right on. So we were 4 degrees off. That is all probably caused by a little bit inaccurate measurement of the tooling. So that's something that's part of the risk. All right, so then you go back over here. We're going to find how this part fits in here. And it shows it's going to be sitting on here just like that. Again, it's going to sit on top of the fingers. I have to put this down. Be careful because it's going to want to pinch your hands up here. You can move this around.
Does it stop all the way in there bend by itself when it hits the angle?
Yep. We're going to come back in here, measure this again. That's right on. So we're good. So correct measurement. Now, again, for the third step, it's showing step number 3. We're going to figure out how this has got to go in there. It's going to go in there just like this. Again, we're going to do that. Sitting on top of the fingers. Okay, so we got our part now. We could verify length on here that we were 3.5 inches each time. But it looks like overall it's pretty decent.
Yep.
Turned out nice. You can also see, you can always tell when you look at these things if there's really indents in it, that means that it was forced. It's no longer air bending. That's what we're doing right now. It's called air bending. Anything above that where it starts to get into the die, then you start splitting the die open and marring the material.
Good. Good. Now when we go back to this, how would we, like, say, log off or erase the job?
All right, let's see here. And then stop. Main. We're going to say don't save. Enter. Okay? It should not be in there. If it is, let's see here. It's still there. not sure exactly how we're going to be able to erase that. You can hit the help menu, might be able to work us through there. It'll take a second, I think, to load up. There we go. I don't see it in here.
Okay.
Anyhow, if you're going to shut down the machine, let's just see here. Maybe info. No. Delete. There we go. All we had to do is hit info.
Okay.
It's gone.
Alright.
Alright, that was easy enough. Alright, in order to quit, are you sure you want to end your session? Yes. Enter. Now it's going to shut down. Here's the problem. Here's what we did wrong, and we'll have to wait to refire it back up. We didn't put it into its setting where you want to let it sit overnight. That really isn't an issue with this particular machine. Some of the machines that were rotary and the ones that have been used heavily in industry, they'll leak down. That becomes an issue. But
sure.
for our purposes, it's really not an issue. Machines that are used on a daily basis or have little time on them really don't have any problems.
So you just hit quit. Are you sure you want to quit? Yes, and it automatically
Yes.
goes to sleep.
So what we're going to do is we're going to shut it off for 30 seconds and click it back on.
I count 10.
So we turn this back on.
Now, because we shut it down incorrectly, what we want to do is we want to come to the back side first thing before you fire this thing up. Pull the fingers back,
Okay.
just as a precaution. All right, so now we know that's out of the way. Very important that you do not come back here unless there is nobody operating it. You can also hit the safety up front to stop it from moving, because this thing has got a whole lot of moving parts. You're going to get wrapped up easily. Okay, so we're going to go directors again. We're going to go up to my job, enter those. Calibrate, all, start. Okay, now it's going to ask us to hit foot pedal again. Okay, now we go to main, and this would be the proper way to shut this thing down. Scroll down. Shut down with wood blocks inserted. As I said, wood blocks are not required, but some people like them, some people don't.
Okay.
I'm going to run that. Because we were not in auto, it was in jog, it would not go on. So we have to switch it back to auto, and now we can hit start. Got our pinch point. Take our pieces, wood. start down in auto, then put it in jog, and that way it's a slower process downward. And what jog allows you to do is you stop, you let out the pedal and it stops, or you can go more. Down limit is set. That's because there's a calculation that was figured out for that particular block of wood. So
Okay.
that's all there is to it. You just hit the shut off. It will come up with this. We know that. It's okay. We're just going to go back to the main menu. And we're going to hit quit. And it'll automatically shut down.
When you hit that arrow.